Okay, well, as part of EngineCon 2020, we are here now with Matthew Daniels. Matthew Daniels, hi Matthew.
Hi
He has
there.
had many short stories out over the last few years, like too many to count. He's been in every From the Rock anthology ever. But now he's here to talk about his first novel, Diary of Knives, which is due to come out at the end of 2020. How does it feel to have your first novel coming out, Matthew?
Uh, Exciting and a little bit intimidating. It's sort of like starting off like with an Olympic race or something. Like, you're at the starting line, you're all ready to go, and you're like, okay, I've done this for the race 1,000 times, but it's real now.
That's fair. That's fair. Have you been in many Olympic races?
um, Look, we don't need any technicalities here today.
All right. So your novel's Diary of Knives. That's a very cool title. You are known for
Thanks.
your cool titles. What is it about?
I've been thinking about how to answer that question for a while now because it's kind of one of these ones where I have a bunch of parts meshed in together. I guess the shortest answer would be it takes some of the characters from Engine's book, The Tourniquet Reprisal, and kind of does a bit of a spin-off with them and just kind of sees what's been going on with them while we've been carrying on with the Xanadu adventures and the Infinity Team and so on. Um, yeah, and I've got a character of my own thrown in there, and it's a bit of a exploration of how do you deal with healing from hardship when you're also dealing with everything, all the complications that come with being a teenager, plus you've got some supernatural abilities, plus there's just a really complicated world out there. Go.
That's fair. That's fair. That sounds really great, actually. That
Thanks.
sounds like a good mix of. I tend to like things that mix real life angst with genre. I grew up on X-Men, so that's
I'll
fairly
do it.
yeah, yeah.
There's
That's
definitely some
just
of that in there for me.
yeah, that's just what X-Men is, kind of thing. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So what was it like to, aside from your original character, who is awesome and cool, and I can't wait for people to meet him. He's a very cool character. But aside from him, what's it like to write pre-existing characters? Because that's something that the other two authors that are writing Engine Universe novels coming out soon that we've interviewed as this series before, Aaron Vance and Ali House, didn't do. They both created existing characters that fit into the universe, like
Okay, I
whole
see.
cast. You're the only one who's taken pre-existing characters and continued the story. So what's that like?
That has been, it's really, it's an interesting experience. It's intimidating at first because you've got somebody else's work. It's obviously their darlings. Um, Readers know these characters, so you have a lot less wiggle room to mess things up a bit because a lot of readers will look at, say, a character they've never encountered before, and the character starts doing things that didn't seem like that's who that person was in the earlier setup, but you can be like, well, maybe there's more stuff we're going to find out about this character later where that makes sense.
Yep.
You can't get away with that with pre-established characters because people already know who they are.
Gotcha.
Uh, so it adds a level of challenge, uh, but it's also exciting because where I've got them fleshed out already, I can sort of play them off of some of my own unique characters as well as the circumstances they're facing. Um, and it gives you the opportunity to flesh them out really deeply without needing to create more books to give you that depth. Like a lot of work has already been done for you.
Sure.
And of course, it gives me a chance to sort of experiment with something that exists and put my own spin on it.
Yeah,
You know what I
and that's
mean?
great. And
Yeah.
speaking, for myself, like we tried to give you all the latitude in the world. Like there are some characters you couldn't kill because we've already got books written where they appear that take place after yours. But other than that, it was like go insane. We might have given you too much leash. I feel like it was intimidating. You were like, what do you mean? Anything. Give me rules. I'm a robot that you plug rules into.
uh, I mean, I had fun with that, and for those of you watching, Matt and I spent an absurd amount of time talking about in-universe stuff, making sure the continuity was there,
Way too
and so
much.
it's like,
Like Matt Daniels and I are the type of people who sit down, have a beer, and talk about nerd things. And sometimes it's Batman, sometimes it's Spider-Man, a lot of times it's Star Wars, sometimes it's the universe we both write in, and we just sit and have a geeked out nerd conversation about a franchise we both have control over, which is weird.
yep, it's really exciting, but it is, it's a lot.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Have you ever seen those memes where like someone says like I forced a computer to read like all of the James
Oh
Bond
yeah.
books and then write their own? I feel like you're the computer we forced to read the Infinity books, and now you've put out your own.
In fairness, that might have been true if I'd only read the books once.
Yeah, that's that's
After
true.
the third time I was reading them, I was like, okay, I'm studying this at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's it like to write in the engine universe, which is what we've asked everyone so far? Because from what I understand, you plan on this is a planned trilogy, and then you plan on spinning it off into work that's more your own stuff. So more like less focused on the original characters and more like over and again. So what's
Yeah,
it like to write in the engine universe?
um, I find it really interesting because generally, like anybody who's read my stuff so far will know that I like to either go into the whole hog fantasy or go all the whole nine yards with science fiction stuff. So having a world like this where you've got what amounts to today's society,
Yeah,
maybe 10 years ago tops,
yeah,
pretty much just kind of like you can even get away with making an argument for it in the late 90s or something, although smartphones kind of cell phones kind of,
they
you
start
know,
to bleed their way in.
yeah, but other than that, like you can kind of put it just about anywhere,
Yeah,
which gives you a lot of flexibility. Um, but it's still much more toned down than the sort of stuff I usually do. Like if I'm gonna have a fire breathing dragon swoop in there, there's gonna have to be a lot of questions.
yeah, I would have questions.
Yeah, that's not it's not that kind of situation, right? Like you've got
No,
even with the teenagers who do have, or any of the characters who have special abilities or supernatural powers or what have you, we're talking more along the lines of Spider-Man climbing a wall and less of Cyclops blasting a mountain with his eyes.
yeah, there's a general rule of powers nobody would want to have.
And I had fun with that.
Yeah,
And in fact, when I'm at work and people are asking me about my writing stuff, that's one of the things I tell them is that imagine that you're in an X-Men environment, but your powers are lame.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, and then it can be really fun because you can see the characters work out how to use a lame power in a productive way. Like it's not just given to them. It's like, how can I use this to my advantage?
Yeah, there was some fun with that. You know, because we've talked at length about my original character I'm bringing into this one. His name is Thatcher,
Yep.
and his situation is that he doesn't know that he has a power, and once he comes to terms with that and recognizes what it is, he then has to accept responsibility for what
Yeah.
his power has done.
Yeah.
So that's not fun.
No.
That's a hard time for him and for everyone affected by it. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I did some interesting things there, and the engine universe has the unique balance of being gritty and like relatively mundane, for lack of a better word, with its power set on the one hand, but also having a degree of versatility because it's not just your X-Men type characters. You also get people with other powers, abilities, and resources that I'm not going to get into too much right now, but there's a lot out there.
Sure.
So you can play with that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, anything else you'd like to say before I let you go, other than just check out Diary of Knives in late 2020?
Um, well, the obvious, suggestion would be to check out Tourniquet Reprisal, because that's got the characters who are involved in that one.
Absolutely.
Um, Other than that, happy to see you guys here at the Engine Con. Have fun. Happy reading.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Matthew Daniels, and have a great
Thanks for
day.
having me. Cheers.
Awesome.